And as we continue here at the 2025 NAFB convention in Kansas City, Missouri, let's talk with Novonesis. Dr. Steve Lerter, Senior Scientific and Business Advisor, is with us. Steve, it's good to see you again. How are you, sir?
I'm very well, Jesse. Very happy to be here.
For folks who maybe aren't fully aware of Novonesis, can you give us a quick refresher on the company and a bit of your role just to start, Steve?
Novonesis is a company formed by the merger of two very old companies. Novozymes celebrated a 100-year anniversary, and Christian Hansen, a 150-year-old, came together to form Novonesis. When you pay consultants to come up with a beautiful name, they chose Novo, meaning new, and then they picked Nessus from Genesis, kind of like a new beginning. Novonesis is a company. Our motto is to better the world with biology. Nearly 100% of what we do involves the clever use of these tiny but mighty organisms, these microorganisms that provide us effective probiotics, they provide us quality enzymes, and enrich our lives. We span everything from human health and foods and beverages. Half the cheese in the world starts with one of our coagulants. About half the yogurt starts with one of our cultures. For animal health, we have probiotics, silage inoculants, and effective enzymes.
I know you and I have talked many times in the past and have talked about a lot of the great work you guys do. A topic, though, that we haven't talked about a whole lot, you and I, let's dive into feed efficiency, the importance of that, because that's something I'm hearing more and more about on livestock operations in terms of kind of that whole cycle of an efficient animal. So where does feed efficiency come in, and how does Novonesis kind of help with that? Let's start there.
When you think about the demand for animal protein, we have gone from about 70 million metric tons in 1960 to over 368 million metric tons in 2025, a five-fold increase. When you think about how we produce meat, milk, and eggs, 70% of that burden comes in the form of feed that we provide to these little bioreactors, the animals in our care. When you consider how we attempt to produce food profitably and also sustainably, it all comes down to how efficiently our animals convert the nutrients in that feed to meat, milk, and eggs. Feed efficiency is the biggest driver, not only for the cost, but for the downstream effect of every time you increase feed efficiency, you increase potential for profitability and sustainability. I'll give you an example. According to the Alltech annual report on feed production, the world produces about 1.4 billion metric tons of compound feed. If you were to improve feed efficiency by simply 0.25%, not 1%, not 5%, 0.25%, you will save 3.5 million metric tons of feed. You would save roughly 2 million acres of cropland you don't need to plant for that feed or use for something else. And you keep about 2.5 million metric tons of carbon out of the air. And all of that is what sustainability drives. Now, in my opinion, if you're producing meat, milk, and eggs, you want to do that with as much chance for profit as possible. And every time you can improve feed efficiency, then you're spending less money to produce the same amount of output or the same money to produce more output.
Yes.
And this is where if you're going to feed 8+ billion people soon, you have to do that. And if it pencils out so that it's good for the producer, it's good for the animals, it improves their welfare, and it's good for the environment, well, that's a triple win. And every time you can have a win-win-win, that's certainly better for agriculture.
Absolutely. Well, and I think about the relative ease of improving your feed efficiency on your operation. There are a lot of ways to do that, and it's something that it's again, it's fairly simple to accomplish just to take that step, isn't it, Steve?
Well, when you think back in the 60s, we were using antibiotics, so chemistry to solve problems. In about the 90s, we introduced enzymes, effective enzymes to help digest the non-starch polysaccharides and other hard things to digest out of the feed. In about 2000, we introduced effective probiotics. And we have learned that every time you can provide an effective probiotic that supports the robustness, the general flexibility of the millions and trillions of organisms within an animal's body, the microbiome, then you can drive not only feed efficiency, but you can drive proper immune function. You can provide proper digestion and absorption of nutrients. So everything that we've done to provide effective probiotics drives feed efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
When you think about the equation for feed efficiency, it's very simple: feed divided by weight gained. But in fact, the root cause is a greater percentage of normal and healthy animals in a herd of dairy cattle, a lot of beef cattle, a flow of pigs, a flock of birds. Every time you increase the percentage of normal, healthy individuals, the productivity, feed efficiency, rates of gain, group morbidity, group mortality improves. And that is a very sustainable notion for operations.
Well, and you and I have talked about, the effective use of a probiotic many times, and that gut microbiome and that axis and more. And there's just there's so many. What fascinates me every time we think about this is there's so many little things that can be done and incorporated into an operation to make them better, more efficient, and more sustainable. And again, it's something that it's not hard to do. It's a quick here's these few things to make your operation better, Steve.
If you think about production animal agriculture, it really is about providing a reasonably sound environment to raise the animals in your care, providing quality groceries and the feed, providing fresh water. But then every time you can use a feed innovation, whether that's a new generation enzyme or an effective probiotic. Yes, it costs you pennies per head per day, but in fact, it returns a multiplicative dividend in your capacity to generate potential revenue. So we know that the most clever, well-managed operations are using these feed innovations, recognizing that 70% of their cost is in feed, but you can make a small investment in something like an effective probiotic or an effective enzyme, and it could be both, because you know that the multiplicative effect that happens in those bioreactors standing in your pasture are going to yield something that you can sell for money.
Very true. Very, very true. Final thoughts, Steve, as we kind of close out our conversation. What would you leave folks with? What would you reiterate to them? Anything else you would add here today?
Just to remember that their goal is to keep every animal in their care healthy and normal, and they should consider effective feed innovations like quality enzymes and probiotics to help them get that job done.
And I know if they want to learn more about Novonesis, a lot of ways online, et cetera, a lot of ways to get in touch and learn more, right? Steve?
Certainly. Novonesis.com. They can certainly reach out to our tech service people, and I'm available, I would say, almost 24/7 for this kind of conversation.
I know it's one of your favorites to have with folks, and it is an important conversation. Novonesis.com for more. Dr. Steve Lerner, Senior Scientific and Business Advisor. It's always good to chat with you, sir, and we'll see you again, probably a couple months. Cattle Industry Convention in Nashville. That'll be fun.
CattleCon. Yes, sir, it will.
Yes, it will. Steve, good to see you. Thanks so much.
My pleasure, sir. Thank you.